Welcome to the Weekend Must Watch on Intercut, the weekly show going through all the movies, TV, and entertainment that you just can't cut away from, including the movies that may not be out yet, but we kind of want them to be. I am your co-host Arturo Surita, and joining me on this April Fool's Day, it's Zachary Shevich.
What's going on, man? Have you been fooled by any of the offerings on social media today? I feel like our general awareness of April Fools and different companies' shenanigans is just very, very high. Like the warnings go out really early. It's hard to be caught by somebody anymore.
It's a Monday, who's got time for that either when it comes to the beginning of the week? But there's usually discussing films. Discussing
Discussing
films. Like
film,
I feel like those happen all the time now that you can't really get got with one of those this morning. But there was like a very
right?
obvious one where the at wasn't even a switch on it. It was like somebody else's name.
Right. But
Um,
that's the thing. Every day is April Fools nowadays.
every,
So
Perfect way to put it, right? It's like why we don't have parody movies anymore because everyone's parodying things 24 hours after they come out. So no, not really, not too many good ones other than this one that I pitched you before we went live for this. But we
yeah, we haven't seen Challengers yet.
we do have some good movies. I heard the Challenger invites were going out though, so I am excited to see that on the horizon because in about a month we are going to have that movie, and you and I have said on the podcast there's before Challengers, then there's after Challengers.
Yeah.
Zendaya not having had a feature film like that though, which is crazy,
It's strange to think about given how big of a celebrity she
right?
is, but
3 Spider-Man
yeah,
movies, yet she's the supporting character. She's the love interest.
exactly,
Dune,
right?
also supporting. So, I mean, she's still the love interest, and she's still supporting people in this upcoming movie. But
Yeah,
Challengers for sure, for sure.
and a bit different than like Malcolm and Marie, right? This is a hotter property for sure.
Yeah. Devesh in the chat says he had made it 23 hours. I know he's in a different time zone. He went scot-free until this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to
Yes.
ruin the game, Devesh.
Oh, we did it. We got somebody.
But we do have good movies on the horizon to talk about. So let's get into them because we have a slew of stuff as we enter April that's really going to be popping off because I think everything in April has a major blockbuster, an art house movie, and then like something new. So we're going to have a fantastic start of the summer here. But it begins with this new one, Godzilla Kong. Did you know that that's how it's supposed to be said?
Godzilla's Kong?
No,
Kong?
Godzilla Kong.
Godzilla
Bro,
Kong. Just
I
two
did my
words.
they went as far as saying that that's what it's supposed to be according to the press notes. I heard some critics talking that it's supposed to be Godzilla Kong, that they were like trained kind of like when the XS came out for the iPhone, they were like, it's not
Right.
X, it's 10.
Oh.
But the S, you got two letters next to each other, one's a letter, one's not. This is supposed to be, as you're seeing it right there, you can kind of like zoom into it. The X isn't really an X. It's floating a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I went through, as you know, it's March Madness. I went through all of the TV ads waiting for that Godzilla Kong in theaters. Now, bro, they would just cut to in theaters now. So it got a little fishy to me. I started researching it a bit more. Good Morning America, Godzilla Kong. The director, Godzilla Kong. So you're not supposed to say the X, although the way that they derived the two different names between this and last one is GVK and GXK. So just so you know, already there is not a consensus on how you're supposed to say it. But Godzilla Kong: The New Empire is out. And Zach, I gotta ask you because I caught up on another blockbuster. Why is this and Frozen Empire from Ghostbusters the same exact movie?
Yeah, I mean there's the threat of a powerful ice demon of sorts. There
Both
is
called
the
Empire.
Empire subtitle. It's the
Both got
bringing
single
back.
parents
Yeah,
with a girl lead who's got to take them to the other dimension. They're dealing
both
with
have pretty obnoxious product placement.
both go to like several. Yeah, there's a lot in here that happens that are very similar. Both got these pole shifts that are happening to be able to get to different places.
Iconic
All
franchises.
blockbusters are the same blockbusters nowadays, but
Which one did you like better?
Ghostbusters? I don't know. I'm a little surprised by you too. Look,
Okay.
I think that the new Ghostbusters is better than the last Ghostbusters by like a smidge, like slime, like that much slime that was his name spit out in the movie, which was a little disgusting. That's how much. I like the last Godzilla versus Kong more than this Godzilla versus Kong. And I know that when talking about these movies, you kind of have to put your fan goggles on. I mean, you don't have to, but if you're gonna go to these movies, they're not there to give you Sundance films.
No, no.
So knowing that, knowing the big bombastic things that they are, I thought the last one was a little bit better. I think the fights were better. I think the color schemes were better. I think the performances were also better because here you're just getting the hand me downs of the characters who have made the cut if they're not out there filming Damsel or doing bigger projects or maybe haven't even been killed yet.
Mhm,
I think when it comes to the humans, Monarch, the show, is where you go for that. You're not
mhm.
going to get it here.
No.
But I also wanted a little bit more fighting action that you do get in this movie, but I don't think to the degree that you got it in the last one. But the Kong fans will be happy.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, you are a Godzilla guy, and Godzilla, I think, had the fair shake of the last one, so I can understand your
This is a
leaning
bye week
towards
for Godzilla.
exactly, right? By the way, I don't know if you saw that tweet that was going around about the amount of screen time that Godzilla's had in these different Godzilla movies, and I think the most across the last 4, not counting Godzilla -1, was only 14 minutes,
Hey,
which
when you big, you big. They say Anthony Hopkins only had 12 minutes, I think, when he recites of the Lambs.
I'm just saying, like, let's get Godzilla on screen a little bit more.
A little bit
We
more,
don't have to
right?
hide him all the time. Yeah.
It's a big budget.
I gotta say, I think I actually enjoyed this one more than the
Yes.
last Godzilla Kong
How?
movie. I think this one has a kind of fun, almost journey to the center of the earth adventure sci-fi quality to it. I
Mhm.
like spending a little more time in the Hollow Earth area. I guess that's something that has only been part of Godzilla and Kong in as far as the MonsterVerse area is concerned. It's relatively a new creation, right?
I couldn't believe that either. Yeah.
Right.
They just got there.
It's pretty cool to like add that into everything. Now, does the movie get bogged down in watching humans traipse through the jungle that I don't really care about? Sure, but I think
Yeah.
there's enough there with Kong exploring Hollow Earth and then even Hollower Earth. I love that first little fight scene with Baby Kong. And I gotta
Ooh,
move out of the
it
way.
don't even move. I apologize.
Um, you
You
know,
got Konged.
yeah, grabbing Baby Kong by the ankle is like the most fun thing that I think happened across any of these movies.
Yeah.
There's just
You
a
like Mini
lot
Kong?
of like I did kind of like Mini Kong. He's he's like a fun little guy. I don't know. He's
I remember you had the scoop on this one about it being like Kong Jr. and the route that they take is different than it being his kid.
right.
It was better. It was better.
Yeah,
Even
it's
having him like an adoptive child who he's being able to teach after all of the,
it's pretty
what we've
cool.
seen him go through in the movies, it was pretty awesome. Yeah. And
I
you also
dug
get to
it.
see growth from a character like Kong.
Right.
You don't get a Nepo Kong.
Exactly. Yeah. He had to earn the position. He wasn't handed
Yeah,
to him, right? I
exactly.
don't know. There was enough stuff like that that I just ended up having a fun time with it. You mentioned that we're getting a lot of the same performances. We do have Crocodile Dundee dentist Dan Stevens helicoptering in to save the day. I really like Dan Stevens in this movie. I mean, this is kind of the Dan Stevens thing now between his performance here and his performance in Cuckoo, which people haven't had a chance to see yet. But he just like brings these wild out there characters to life.
You like this Ace Ventura shirt?
I did. I had a really fun time with it. I had a really fun time with Godzilla using the Coliseum like a cat bed. I liked
Beautiful. Yeah.
Rebecca Hall saying, "Well, the tell the Italian military that they would have been flattened if it wasn't for Godzilla." Like this is what we've got. The director of shoot, what's that movie that she did with Tessa Thompson? Um,
Passages or passing?
Passing, yeah, this is what we got the director of Passing doing, the actress from Resurrection is doing this now. Like, hell yeah. I think this movie has an idea of how dumb it is, and it leans into that dumb fun. I can agree with you that there was maybe a lack of like Titan fighting, particularly in the first like half of this movie. But
Yeah.
once you get to that sequence in at the pyramids, which is a badass sequence, I think this movie really moves.
Yeah, I like the dumbness that the last one had. The characters were dumber in the last one. I'll give them that. There's a big step up here in the human characters because they cut out a lot of fluff. You don't have a podcaster in his name Bernie. Is that what he goes by? Brian Terry Henry in this movie?
Think
Yeah,
so,
Bernie.
yeah.
He's
And
practically playing himself.
yeah,
I
but
thought he was
not
playing
something
like a character,
right.
but I've heard him in interviews. No, he's just goofy.
And that's the thing is like, sure, but like, I just like Brian Tyree Henry on screen.
I
Like
love Brian Tyree Henry too.
when he
I
grabs
think
Dan Stevens' arm.
I think it's better. Yeah, yeah, better this time than having like two kids who he was getting guided by. I don't
Yes,
think
yes.
that helps anybody. It makes him look goofier that he's with teenagers. Here, it's a little bit smarter because now he feels more like the outsider, right? He's that Facebooker's wet dream of being able to be there at the conspiracy moment for what he's making this podcast about.
Yeah.
But that's another one where Ghostbusters also had the conspiracy podcast. They have the conspiracy podcast. It feels like the character you need in the movie. And boy, do they find the dumbest reasons for him to go on the trip. You telling me Rebecca Hall, you just mentioned all of her accolades. Let me mention the one she has in the movie. She can spare no expense on figuring out what to do with her daughter's crazy drawings that she put up against the triangles. I'm letting the dumb stuff go, but there was a certain point where she's like, out of everybody who I can get help with, let me go call up that podcaster
And he
who
gets
we
it
gave
in
no
10
credit to.
seconds.
There's the goofiness in the movie that is easier to swallow this time around, but I still think that it's pushing its runtime a little too much, and it
Yes.
makes me wonder. I'll be sitting there at points, right, when Godzilla's finally changing colors. I'm going, that's really great now that we're in this new form of Godzilla, but this is the same Godzilla from 2014. This is the same
Yeah.
world Bryan Cranston died in.
Yeah, I mean, that's something about this movie that is a little confusing. I feel like they never really get the sense of scale quite right. Like Baby Kong looks tiny and then huge and then
So
tiny
sometimes
again. And
big, yeah. I know they're all CGI, but and people said this
right.
about the trailers, but damn, you really feel it. They feel
Mhm.
weightless.
They do
They've
feel
always
weight.
been fake, but there was something in that 2014 one. Again, maybe like you're saying, that they know how to hide Godzilla the way they do a Darth Vader, a
Right.
Jaws, where in doing that, the direction allows them to feel more menacing.
Mhm.
Man, like maybe it's because you sleeping. I think when he slept in the Coliseum is when you felt more of the depth of it. When it's just
Right.
them and nothing's
Yeah.
in the way to show you that scope, they feel very soft. I saw it in IMAX. Surprisingly, I'm
Mhm.
going to give you all the recommendation for Dolby on this one. Having seen the
Yeah.
Dolby trailer so many times, you need that rumble. It does get big when it's the monsters up there on screen, and it goes wide when it's the humans. But nah, you need that sound more than anything.
Yeah.
So
I went Dolby. I
I
had a
will lean
great
there.
time. And look, like I agree with you. This is a very dumb movie. There's a lot of like eye roll worthy moments in it. I'm just finding that like there's been a whole slew of movies this March that I'm feeling solid 3 stars on, right? They're not great. They're
Okay,
not going to get nominated for any awards or anything
sure.
like that, but they are a solid 3 star time out at the movies between Immaculate, Ricky Stenicki, and now this one. I'm having fun at the theater. I don't know.
This is three.
Yeah, it's a 3 star and no higher than that.
All right. As long as you don't go that half, we can continue to do this podcast. Hey, I will give the. They have a very good family moment towards the end of it.
Hmm.
That exchange between Rebecca and her daughter, that was like, wow, we haven't seen one of these in a minute. Because, what was it? Do you remember? What's her name? Uh,
Millie Bobby Brown.
Past that, our coach from Friday Night Lights was married. You
Oh
remember?
yeah. Shoot. Kyle Chandler.
Yeah, Kyle Chandler was married to Conjuring, and what they had going on in that like King of Monsters thing, if you
Yeah.
remember, what was it? Why am I blinking her name? She got a sister and everything. When she decided to unleash the monster, like that's how petty we were dealing with. Just a couple. Vera Farmiga, thank you, Devesh. Vera Farmiga's character was insane in that movie, and now we
Yeah.
at least have more well-grounded people in here running things. Again, I'm going to second the Monarch show. Definitely go catch that. And then I guess if you're curious, this is also happening in that same universe somehow.
Somehow.
Godzilla Kong, the new Empire
Yeah.
in theaters. I was surprised that you got the chance to catch this one because I wasn't sure if you were staying away from the new Luc Besson movie that a lot of people, well, they've been a little conflicted with it. Zach, I don't know how you feel about Luc Besson and his filmography. I always tell Alina, I was like, yo, this guy's got a new movie coming on. He's like, what has he done? Some of her favorites, Fifth Element.
Mm.
I'm actually a big fan of Valerian. I thought he was actually building a world there, as weird as it was. Nikita, Leon the Professional. Hell, my uncle's got one movie that he watches and one movie only. It's called Lucy. It's the only thing that's ever on his
Really?
TV.
I mean, I like Scarlett Johansson, but interesting.
This man's gone through some turmoil, some
Yeah.
accusations, what we should say. So when
Sure.
his new movie premiered at I think it was Fantastic Fest. It premiered overseas, but it was a surprise screening at Fantastic Fest. People had some opinions. When you go to Letterbox, right?
Mhm.
And there's already reviews from people who haven't seen the movie. That you could tell that there's like a culture pushing against it.
Yeah.
With all that said, can you judge Dogman, starring Caleb? I'm blanking on his name.
Caleb Landry Jones.
Caleb Landry Jones, who's a musician, he was at South by as well. Can you judge this on its own merit? And what does that merit tell you at the end of the day? Good or bad?
Judging it just by its own merit. I gotta go no on this one, dog. I am
Really?
Yeah, I think this movie is trying to be a mixture of Joker from the Todd Phillips movie, which I'm also not that high on, and White God, that awesome Cornel Mondrasco movie.
With the real
Uh,
dogs? Hell yeah.
yeah, with the real dogs,
Hell yeah.
and I feel like tonally this lands closer to Fred Durst's The Fanatic. I don't know, man. It's got this like trying to be hard edge crime movie to it, but ending up just sort of like laughable. I mean, it's the plot is just a mouthful. Caleb Landry Jones playing this abuse survivor who was saved by all these dogs and now runs a shelter, but also has this gift for commanding the dogs, but also is sometimes in a wheelchair, but not always, and a drag performer. Like it's kind of like,
Hey,
how
you
much more
forgot
do you want to
Cartel
stuff into
leader
this
damn near.
plot, right? Like it's so
Did you mention the
overstuffed with
flashbacks?
I did only in brief, because it is just biting off way more than I think it can chew.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. It never really found a tone where I took it seriously. Did you have a better time with it than I did?
Everything that you said and how crazy it goes is why I found it a little bit intriguing. I'm
Yeah.
not giving it the 2 thumbs up or anything like that, but I think don't catch this in theaters, but when it's
Mhm.
out on streaming, even if you could get a cheap rental for it, it's a weird tone. Caleb Landry Jones is that guy. He's
Yeah.
always taking these off-kilter roles. The main thing that I always remember him from is obviously in Get Out when
Mhm.
he's the brother and he's got this like very creepy essence to him that he brought himself in playing the instrument, which I think he had pitched while they were on set. And I think he carries it in this movie in a pathetic way.
Yeah. I
He is
didn't
very
have a big
yeah.
issue with his performance, more his character.
You think it crosses there's several moments where obviously he's cross-dressing,
Yeah.
he's doing a lot of these different things in trying to find something, but I always feel that it's these horror movies that we look back on that end up doing something that is awkward, yet I don't wanna say revolutionary, but a little bit new. He's able to capture this, like, lone person who feels more attached to dogs than he does to regular people because of the way he
Right.
was raised, right? He ends up going to certain spaces, and the least people who he thought would accept him are the people who accept them. I
Mhm.
think there's a through line that happens a lot of times in movies, right? I was just rewatching Rosemary's Baby with the first Omen,
Mhm.
and, we had another movie that just came out as well. And
Immaculate.
look, we know the baggage that comes with, thank you, it was because of Immaculate. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. That Rosemary's Baby comes with a lot of baggage as well. You
Mhm.
start that movie up, there's no denying it. There is absolutely no denying it. This is not a Rosemary's Baby, but I think it still gets into a realm that Luc Besson hasn't lost, and that's these
Mhm.
outsiders finding a way into society and making their own almost to a degree from the scraps that they're given.
Totally. Like there's definitely like some interesting things going on there. And
You weren't
if
bored, right?
anything, there's maybe too no, wasn't bored at all.
Yeah.
If anything, there's maybe too many interesting things going
It's
on
maybe
here.
too
It's
weird. I'll give you
yeah. Caitlin had a better time with I than I did with it. She feels like there's this real campy quality to a lot of it, and I wouldn't be surprised for
Get Caitlin on the podcast for sure, bro. Alina
we don't want
liked it
to you don't want to
also.
host with me anymore. You want to get
No,
her?
no, no. Honestly, I'm a sub in with Alina. Alina was like, "No, I see what he's saying here." I'm like, "What are
Yeah.
you see?" I'm like, "I'm not bored. I'm entertained by it, but I don't think
Yeah.
this is his best out there." She goes, "No, I see what he's saying here about the outcasts." So, hey, we might have to have the girls on here, the
Yeah.
Intercuties, to talk about the movie, but I'd still land semi-positive. Like, I'm not going against the grain of what they have there. I think if if you're okay watching a Luc Besson movie, I think that there's some interesting elements to this. If
Yeah.
not, I don't think this should be the one to break it for you.
Yeah, I mean, I probably land closer to like a 2 star. I thought it was weak, but I don't think it's like without interest or merit. Like
Interesting.
I think you'll be entertained by it at the very least, even if it is like laughing at it, not with it.
Yeah, I'm going above a 3. I don't know if I
Ooh,
can go the half, but I might. Yeah, I like Caleb in it, and I agree. If you're saying that Caelan's mentioned that campiness to it, that it's that tone that I think some people will be intrigued by. So when
yeah,
it's streaming, we'll see how it does because ain't no one leaving the theater for this. But it does have a theatrical run. It is playing near me. So
there you go.
Luke Besson's still
Maybe,
with the legs.
maybe,
Might
yeah,
see Caleb Landry Jones in concert. I think he might be a Lala.
yeah. Uh, as far as Dogman go, I that's my dog, so
There you
I'm a dog man for her.
oh,
I got her
Penny
on the
working out.
yeah, I put her with the Fallout
Nice.
bandana. I told you it'd look good on her, right?
It looks very nice, dude.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
catch. From one
All right,
dog man to another.
what's up next?
All right. Next up, we have The Beautiful Game, which I know you told me a little bit about this backstory and
Yes.
what it was about. It's out on Netflix now and did pretty decent, opening up in the top 10.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is a story that follows the English team, a fictionalized English team, as they compete in the Homeless World Cup, which is a real event that brings together, homeless people across 70 different countries, I believe it is, to compete in soccer or football, the beautiful game. And I thought this film had a lot of similar qualities and similar qualities, but ones that I liked a little bit better than Next Goal Wins, because it's also got that, inspirational sports story quality. I thought it was a
True,
lot
true. Yeah.
less condescending than Next Goal Wins was, albeit,
Definitely.
albeit like, you know, maybe there's a bit more humor in Next Goal Wins, but I thought that the story worked better in the beautiful game. Did it work perfectly? I wouldn't say so. I think the
Mhm.
script could have used some rearranging, some tightening up. The lead characters are played by Bill Nye and Michael Ward, and they have this sort of backstory that the film doesn't even really bother to get into until more than halfway through.
Mhm.
And I think the way that they sort of reveal that information kind of makes you frustrated with the Michael Ward character more than like interested in him or supporting him. Like he's kind of a frustrating protagonist to follow for a lot of
Yeah.
this movie.
A lot of
But
time he's complaining about his roommate, complaining about like everything.
and it's one thing to have a character be negative or complain, but it's another to do it for a character where you haven't heard their backstory, you don't really know what they're coming from, you don't really have a great reason to sympathize with them. So I feel like if you rearrange some things, it might have worked a little bit better. That being said, if you stick with it, I think there's like a really sweet quality to the story. It's got a really good heart to it. It's got a really good message. There are uh some moments, particularly as characters develop and grow closer, that I just really worked for me. And I don't know, it's a mild recommendation for me, not exactly like a strong one, but I think there's I think there's definitely qualities about it that are worth recommending, particularly because it has a bunch of charismatic performers in it.
Yeah. I think it's a heartwarming movie, not knowing anything about it, or the true story of it and how they're able to create this cup. And I agree with you. I don't like it when movies try to keep something from you to have it later, especially when your movie is pushing the 2 hour mark. That was a big part of it. I was like, I don't know if it needs to be
Right.
this long.
Yeah.
And going out to the theaters for something like this would definitely detract a lot of points from it. It being at home, I think is where it fits more. You were
Yeah.
talking about the script, right? Tighten that up a bit because I think you have all the performers that you need here. None of
Yeah.
these performers are bad.
Nope.
So why is it shot so overexposed? Like, why is it the lightest movie in the world?
Yeah.
Right? There needs to be some
It's
shadows in there, at least
very
when they're inside.
very TV cinematography.
Thank you. Like, yeah, and I didn't want to get that meme, but it's pushing that side of it, and that's what Netflix is known to do when it comes to these bigger movies. Bill Nye was good. Michael Ward was good. I want to shout out over here. I want to make sure I got him right. I want to say it was Caleb. I'm gonna pull him up over here. One of the guys who was in the movie has this relationship that he has with another soccer player who
Yeah.
is also trying to make it right. Make sure I got the right actor over here. Yeah, Shay Cole. I was like, where's this man from? He's got this little walk that he does with her in the movie where she's like, jog with me, and he does
Mhm.
this. Got me, bro.
Like the dinosaur arms.
Got me. He would just not move it. I was like, all
Yeah.
right, you're funny. And when the movie has moments like that, it feels special. And I wish that they
Mhm.
tightened it up on stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know where he's from? Full Circle.
Oh, wow, good for
Yeah.
him, man.
He's the one from the duo who ends up going like,
Yeah.
"Yo, you got me involved in this. We're gonna get this done." And what's her name's the one who's like always on his back. I think he had a picture right up here. Pull him up from Full Circle. Another recommendation to
Mhm.
definitely go check this dude in.
The Max series.
Good stuff. But again, he was one of the parts that I liked a lot of from this movie, and where you're seeing all these different characters, real people who are coming in. You know, he's got his roommate who has the drug problem, and there's a he's or not relapsing. He is rehabilitating from it. He's taking medication, and all he's getting is baggage from Michael Ward's character,
Right.
right? And there's a certain point where Michael Ward runs off because that's what he knows how to do, right? Before the
Yeah.
audience can sympathize with him, you're seeing him do all these things, and you feel bad because his roommate character is like, when well, my guy ran away, who I was recovering with, he never came back. Will he come back? Should I go look for him? And there's these little moments where you feel full people that you're just getting to know. They tried that with the Michael Ward character, but as the main character, we needed to see it from his perspective. He can't be a stranger to us too.
Yes.
So tightening that up, I think would have made it better, but still a very interesting story. One to catch on Netflix.
Yeah, I'm sort of between a 2.5 and a 3 on this one, but especially if you're interested in the story, or if you like soccer films or sports
Yeah.
films in general, I think it's a recommendation. You're just comparing it again to Next Goal Wins. I thought they shot the soccer much better than Next Goal Wins. Like, it actually felt like they were out there playing some games.
He knew the rules.
Exactly, right?
Imagine him touching this. This is where he would have been mean. Like, there was no business being that mean over there, but here, no.
Yeah, it would have been a bit ickier.
Yeah, Bill Nye was good in the movie because he knew how to talk to him. He knew how to tell him, like, you're crossing this line, and you want them to know their place, know your place too. It was, yeah.
Definitely.
I do not want that in Tycho's hands.
Something I didn't realize until very late. This movie is directed by Thea Sharrock, who, not somebody I was super familiar with, but has another movie out right now in Wicked Little Lies.
Whoa!
How often
And they
does a
look like
director
completely different movies,
right? How often does a director have 2 new movies in one weekend?
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, good for them. That's sick. One and Only Ivan. So hopefully this one stays up, because I know One and Only Ivan disappeared from Disney Plus, and luckily this one had not the same backlash that Me Before You, which we brought up a couple weeks ago, had as well.
Supposedly, the Homeless World Cup hasn't been played since the outbreak of COVID, but it will be back next year in Seoul. So something to look out for.
Interesting.
Or this year, I think, in Seoul, rather. Yeah.
Nice. The final one that we have here is a short, because Zach, this is the weekend that the new Spider-Verse movie was supposed to come out.
Yeah,
I have it
that?
here.
You want to go?
Crossed out. I wish I could cover it. I wish I got the. That'd be a great April Fool's, huh?
Right?
Spider-Verse 3, ready to film that. They still time something though, so I don't know. Be it the gods, the animation gods said we're still going to give you a little something on this release date, and they gave us a little short film called "The Spider Within a Spider-Verse Story." That they kind of pitched it like the 90s Disney teams, where they would get like the B teams or people who have been around for a minute to come in and lead the directing here if they've never done directing but have led other departments and such, to be able to make this. They were able to bring back Shamik Moore and Brian Tyree Henry for the voices, which absolutely helps. But it's a short film that's also there's a campaign that goes with it, where they're donating to Kevin Love, if I'm not mistaken, and his mental health organization. And that's what the short is about.
Yes.
I thought it was decent.
Yeah, it's an interesting look at sort of like, obviously they sort of portrayed Miles Morales as this character who deals with some anxiety, and here it's much more overt, and they have some kind of, I wouldn't call it exactly like scary imagery, but like horror-ish imagery. I feel like it's toned down because of the vibrancy of this universe, but like, I wouldn't call it a horror short, but it definitely is meant to evoke like unsettling ideas, unsettling feelings. There's aspects of it that I like. It feels a little bit to me like when you watch a incomplete deleted scene on the DVD, where like they didn't quite get, like, they didn't add the soundtrack, or they didn't cut it down quite as the zippy way that the final product would have been cut down. So like, I think it'll deepen the characters for people who already like Spider-Verse, but I don't think this is something that would appeal to people beyond that.
Yeah, I had heard that this could have gone to any IP, but they decided to attach the story to the Miles Morales one. Kind of had that budget going with it. What they had Ken Powers, who had done directing on the last one come in and help them with the voice acting and so, or to direct the voice acting, I should say. But I still thought it worked. I think the main message, it's up on YouTube, so you could go
Yeah.
catch it as well. Um, is that anxiety that a well-known character goes through? You don't need to attach yourself to the main character because we have two movies of it. I think that's where it's very effective in going like, dang, even this kid would have this anxiety that goes through him. The way that they portrayed it in animation, I don't think they went cheap with it. I think they had some really clever designs and colors to go with it. Your basics, red to blue, but it's that ending. Um, and what it's telling you to do when you feel
Right.
that way. I know not everyone's going to have that option. Some may have somebody who doesn't want to do that, but it's showcasing you the answer, or a solution to how to not get in your own head, and that's to talk to others,
Yeah.
who you may have near you. I thought it was beautiful for what it was, and
Yeah.
I liked it. And it's available for free on YouTube.
Yeah. Always a worthwhile message worth hearing, and it is beautifully animated as well. So
Yeah,
if that's what it's going to take to get in front of more people, then that's great. A great and worthwhile cause.
I like your deleted scene talk though. You could have easily just snuck this in there somewhere. Like
Yeah.
it literally fits in between like a part two or like anywhere within the storyline,
Exactly.
and then
Like
you cut
when
to like a
Miles is
garage,
grounded before Gwen
right?
comes in the second movie, you could have easily done
Exactly.
something
Boom,
like
just put
this.
it right there.
Yeah.
It fits perfectly. But again, this is out on YouTube. Make sure you
Yeah.
check that one out.
Devesh asked, "Don't you think it just stops?" I thought it was just getting started when the credits rolled.
Well, yeah, it's what you're saying. That's why it feels like a deleted scene. It's like this isn't the ending of the movie. This is the ending of that DVD chapter.
Right. Right. Exactly. Like it's not. I
But it was
wouldn't.
nice for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like a complete arc, but it's a flash of a character. It's like a slice of life kind of thing.
And if anything, it's like it sounds like it was an exercise to be able to promote the mental health message. So
Yeah.
there is that. Moving on, we have a couple. This is interesting because they're all documentaries, but they're all considered series. Very
Yeah.
confusing. Let's just start off with the first one, which I am pretty sure is a documentary. Spermworld. It's
Right.
being pitched as TVMA. Even when you go search it up on Hulu, they tell you episode one. I think it's just one.
Yeah. I don't think we're going back to Spermworld anytime soon.
No, 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 no. Plus, it says FX original documentary film, so I don't get the disconnect within their own platform.
Mhm.
Nonetheless, I think you know the team behind this, and you got to check this one out, right?
Yeah. So this one comes from Lance Oppenheim,
The
who,
boy.
aside from having a uh, another docuseries,
Yeah.
uh, at South by Southwest that we haven't yet talked about, Ren Fair, is the director of, I think, one of the most compelling new documentaries that we've had in the past few years, In Some Kind of Heaven, which is a documentary that takes place at the Villages in Florida. And I think it just has this really distinctive perspective because he's able to get these like incredible looking compositions, but he also is able to profile some very bizarre people. And I think
Always.
he continues that tradition here in Spermworld, which is a documentary that looks at people who donate or receive sperm through an online Facebook group, which is just a very interesting
You get
sub
yours
black
via
market.
Twitch, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've always trusted live streamers a
So
little bit more.
I was gonna say Tumblr, bro.
Yeah, man. Look, it's one of those things where it's like not a lot of documentarians would want to touch a underworld even like this one, but a director like Lance Oppenheim not only is willing to touch it, he's willing to dive headfirst into this bizarre world. And I think there's times where I feel a little bit like I'm it's the Nathan Fielder, John Wilson discomfort, where it's like how much of this is spotlighting, how much of this is condescending and making fun, but at the same time, I'm like completely captivated from start to finish by this. Like
Yeah.
he's able to find really, really interesting characters, living a very interesting lifestyle, and there's just some incredible images in this. Like that it's hard to believe that this is documentary and not narrative with how well it's shot.
Honestly, dude, you and I have had that on the John Wilson side of things. I don't
Yeah.
know how much is a recreation of sorts.
I'm sure he's like placing actors to an or subjects to an extent, right? Like
subject, right?
people
And
don't
say,
walk in and sit in
nah,
beautiful formations like that. Or there's this one party that happens and the lighting is crazy. I've never
unreal.
been to like a child's, place that has lighting like that,
You know, it would take some sort of setups, and I'd say this and one that we're gonna get two down the line, do
Yep.
these camera angles where it's like, well, I'm not dumb. You had to film that and then set up that other angle
Hmm.
on this side. There's a particular sequence with a parking lot, some beautiful shots showing how one of the couples always has to make it out there whenever there's someone who texts them for it, and it needs to be at a certain temperature. So I think he's wanking it out in the car in order to be able to give it to them.
Right.
And there's one where he's like, "I'm here, just got here." I'm like, "Wait, how did you just get here?" But they set up the long lens from like super far away. I'm just questioning some of the things there, but it brings you into this world that's already very uncomfortable for a lot of their subjects. You had mentioned how there's different people here. Some of them do it for free. Some of them maybe charge. Others even tell you that they do it because out of the goodness of their own heart, they get like a dopamine hit from it. There's that one guy who explained that he looks for short people at grocery stores just to help them because anything that he can help with, he'll be there for. The most fascinating one, I think, some of the biggest subjects would be the couple, the one who I
Yes.
believe they have children outside of their partnership. But the more that he's helping other people, the less time he can have to schedule
Yeah.
their family that they want to create and that
Right.
they haven't started yet. And she's like showing up to these places where he's giving his
Donations.
donations, thank you, to other people. But again, it's so fascinating because she hears these other people's, discussions of it. There's this one couple who haven't been together very long, but they were married to other people. And
Hmm.
now that they get to be a couple to these two ladies, yeah, she's there kind of like, why wouldn't I be here? And you can hear her doubting, oh, yeah, they're always first. We always put the client first, always put the people first. Then she meets them and she kind of tones it back. And I think that's when he's really in his zone, capturing the subject's different emotions as they go through the process as well. But interesting collection to his vignettes. And I'm excited to see what he was doing with, or what he's going to be doing with Ren Fair.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely still interested in whatever Oppenheim does next. I don't know. I doubt this is going to be like the first thing I think of when I think of him, but it's compelling for sure. I think I'm probably over a three. I'm throwing 3.5 on this documentary.
Sounds good. Same there too. I was confused because there's an Oppenheimer too, right? In the guy who made the Killings.
Yeah, Joshua Oppenheimer, I want to say.
A lot of Oppens
In the documentary game, they're all over
in
the
the
place.
documentary game, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, but some of the
And
best
there's
out there.
the Oppenheimer Editing Award at Sundance as well, which might be named after an even different person.
I thought that was It could be. Who even knows at this point? And then there's I don't
Yeah.
know if you heard the movie Oppenheimer that came out last year. So just a
Oh
lot of
no, that sounds good though.
it sounds pretty decent, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of up and comers, you had put this one on my radar. You had said it's a two-parter that came out to
Yeah.
Apple TV Plus. I got
Yep.
to see the first part,
Cool.
and damn it, it's pretty strong. I want to see the second part. Steve Martin, a documentary in two pieces, and rightfully so. We always talk about when it should be split. It sounds like this one was rightfully split going through his
Yeah.
life.
They've given a compelling reason to split it as well, because that entire first part that you watched is just sort of chronicling his early life into his
I
stand-up
knew nothing.
career.
Yeah.
Really, yeah, he's an iconic stand-up comedian, just really
I
breaking the form in a lot of ways.
What's the last one you showed me? Do you remember?
What what 30
On
Rock or
Max?
something?
No, the Max one on Albert
Oh,
Brooks.
yeah, Albert Brooks. Yes, yes.
Another person where I know Steve, I know that man from their movies.
Right,
I
right.
feel like it's the Richard Pryors, the Eddie Murphys that I know before they became big actors. I know their stand
Mhm.
up. I have such a blind spot for Steve, Albert. I guess a lot of the older white dudes, and hearing just like the making of and how he
Mhm.
became there, how they stole, fascinates me, bro. It just fascinates me to know. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's just a really great profile of how he sort of became the comedian he is, because what's interesting about Steve Martin, what I've always found fascinating about him, is he's the most highbrow, lowbrow comedian there is, right? Like he is
Okay.
a really smart guy who went to college to get a philosophy degree, who has a vast collection of paintings and is really well known in the art world for his taste and intellect. But
He has
he
12
likes to
kids.
get on stage and do funny dances and wear an arrow over his head, you know? Like it's that mix of like intellectual prowess and just this really
Yeah,
subversive quality that I think makes him really interesting. And he's just so silly, like supremely silly on stage.
yeah. I did not know about the balloon hat being like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
That they
he's
all came in with it. That's
right.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he
Yeah.
was one of the first stand-up comedians who was maybe the first stand-up comedian who was like selling out arenas, which is
No, they
kind of
said,
like the bar we talk about now for iconic
bro.
comedians.
Yeah, they said they pressed the vinyl for his the small one, and
Yeah,
that
and
was
it's
the first to cross a mill. I
the
didn't
first
know,
platinum
dude.
comedy album.
I feel like Pharrell in the studio with Ye. I didn't know. I
Yeah.
didn't know. If not for him, you don't have this comedy selling of albums, dude.
No,
Crazy
no.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's also just it's got this really timeless quality to it too, because it is like it's silly, it's sort of visceral, like it's just kind of being fun. He talks about how his goal in stand up was not it was not to do like set up punchline, but try to get the type of laughter you get
bro.
when you're just being fun around your friends. And it makes so much sense seeing the type of performer he is. So I
Yeah.
thought it was a really, really incredible just an analysis, compilation, dive into like why he became Steve Martin.
I had heard that punchline thing and I got mad for a little bit. I was like, what's wrong with punchlines? Then he kind of describes it to you. He's breaking down that,
Mhm.
I don't get high, I get small. You're like, what the heck's going on? But it's like the third joke in when you're like, got it. You created the world. Now we're in this world. How crazy can you get within the world? Now you're
Mhm.
driving small. Understood completely. And it's
Exactly.
like that way of thinking is, I think, what also made him so successful as an actor. I mean,
Mhm.
he was just bound to blow up in that sense.
Definitely.
It's also honest. It's a very honest documentary, which is one of the biggest things that I look for in these, because he has a lot to do with this, I wanna
Mhm.
say. I know it's, Morgan Neville, who I think is a good documentarian, but, it
It's
does a
definitely
good.
done with him as almost a co-author, Steve.
Yeah, but he was still willing to say true things about himself. The
Mhm.
idea of him taking other people's jokes until he realized, "Okay, now I gotta do it on my own way, now they're taking my jokes." I thought that was very smart and honest, because even the Cheech and Chong one, they felt the need to be honest now, because you can't hide it nowadays,
Yeah.
right?
Well, we often talk about how we're not so we don't love when these documentaries feel like they're promotional pieces, right? Because so
They
many
cut out stuff, yeah, yeah, yeah.
artists or icons or whatever want some sort of producerial say over the documentary about them. But I think we might need to make an exception for dudes who are just too old to give a fuck anymore.
Thank you. Honestly, like, the worst case is that they're pulling a Mattel, right? "Hey,
Yeah.
put all my skeletons out there." And if you end up with a pretty good movie, you ended up with a pretty good movie, right? In both of these cases, like I'm mentioning, South by had the Cheech and Chong one, and with
Mhm,
him, to be willing to say that that's what they did,
mhm.
I think it's a very honest thing, because today, in any medium, from stand up to doing podcasting to anything else, you're not getting away with it the way they were back then.
No.
You at least had a template. And I love that he described that. I couldn't have been writing my jokes and doing, like, I used a script to get ready in public. Nowadays, you got to do the editing, the writing, the everything yourself. And if you miss one thing, oh, is that AI? They're coming down with you.
Yeah,
They're coming down on you. And I don't know. I like that process of showing you how the old guard used to be and how it is now. So
definitely.
good recommendation, Steve
Yeah.
Martin. Got to finish the
Hey,
second part over here, but
if
fascinating
you
stuff.
if you liked all that about it, I think you'll like the second part as well, because the second part is much more of a focus on his life in movies as well as his life today and sort of like where the sort of late career renaissance that he's been
Yeah.
having, particularly as a partner with Martin Short. They both
That
have
too. Yeah.
Only Murders in the Building together, and they do comedy tours together. But that honesty is really like prevalent in the second half, because as iconic as Steve Martin is, like he doesn't exactly have like an amazing track record in film. He's got a few like iconic films on there. I love The Jerk. I love Father of the Bride, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. But he's got a lot
Cheaper
of
by the dozen.
yeah, he's got a lot of misses in there as well. Things that were either critical or commercial failures, and he has a willingness to sort of look back on how they were received with honesty. So I think you like that second part of the documentary as well. Definitely one of the standout profile docs we've had so far this year.
The first part was ending, and he already had white hair. I'm like,
Martin Short has a joke in the second one where he says, you it's something like you look good for 70, which is easy to say because you've looked 70 since you were 30.
when it said about Martin Short, he's always got one on him.
Mm-hmm.
He's fine. He's just waiting for someone to say something.
Waiting to fire off from the hip.
Crazy stuff. All right, that's a good one right there. Steve, 2-part series, rightfully so, over on Apple TV Plus, adding to their collection.
Hey,
A lot of people say Apple TV Plus. It's like HBO.
Yeah,
but is it like HBO? Is it like HBO? Keeping it as honest, maybe too honest. For Jerrod, just Jerrod. Unless you're going with the OG title, Jerrod Carmichael reality show. Let me pull this up over here so y'all can see it. The new reality series on HBO. Too much. I'm sorry. I was excited. No? It's too much. It's too much. You
can do it?
I did it. That's how I know. It's overloaded. I don't know, man. I don't know.
What's your issue with it?
It hurts to see someone who wants the love and attention from the people who he's never going to get, continuing to make the art that gives him the awards as long as he never gets that attention, as long as he never gets that love. It is a broken cycle for this man. The stand-up, all of it. He is seeking something he'll never get, and that's what gets him this recognition. And I think he knows, because he slightly says it even in there. If I wasn't talking about the stuff I was talking about, if I wasn't showing you my pain, would I be famous? You got the fame. At what cost? He's embarrassing himself sometimes.
Sure, but it's that vulnerability that is so compelling, right? Like, were you
it is. I'm not denying that. Yeah. This isn't bad.
Glued to your screen during any moment but the Tyler, the Creator sequence?
That's my point, though.
Yeah.
Who was it? Who's all wrapped up saying this isn't truth? You're just packaging it up. Who could that possibly be, Zach?
I love that they would go to the effort when it is the most obvious Bo Burnham appearance. Like they went.
Man has the same cadence. It'd be like hiding Tyler.
Well, that's the thing.
You can't do that.
Right. Like maybe it works for a little bit, but the second that the masked man calls this whole project exhibitionist, like no, I see you. Yeah, I know how your brain works.
Look at your lanky self. Who else could it be? May I though? What's he talking smack about? Can you tell me the difference then between his disgust for what he's doing and what he did in Inside?
I mean, I think what Bo would say is that he's being more honest about the nature of what Inside is, but maybe Jerrod is being honest by putting that part in here. Like, well, here's the other thing is, how much of this do you think is reality, or do you think this is doing like a Nathan Fielder rehearsal kind of thing where it's a constructed reality?
It is definitely constructed reality because that conversation with Tyler, I don't think one happens without you letting Tyler know if you don't want to ruin that friendship.
Right.
And we're going to get into the Tyler stuff. But two, within that Tyler thing as well, they're in a corner. And this is when I was telling you that they're filming a certain way. Then they get this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful shot of Carmichael. That can only happen if the camera's on Tyler's seat.
Well, if they got the 2 camera setup, they probably set up for that.
Yeah, the 2 camera setup had him on this side, but there's one specifically dead on him when he does this, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like maybe you got that from a different thing, but he's responding to him at that point in time.
Yeah.
What parts? Maybe I felt for the most part I don't think he's faking it. I think the issue here is like you're being too vulnerable, and I think his friends tell him as well, or not even his friends, because remember, I don't know how much of Carmichael's backlog you've seen. He likes to put his mom front and center.
He does.
His father's the only one who knows you're going to catch me for a little bit. I'm curious how much he gets of him here, but he always, I don't want to say the word exploits, so I'm not going to say the word exploits.
He uses.
Yeah. A lot of his family members, and especially those which are female, they go along with him a lot. But there are moments where they do shut him up, and I want to see more of those come up where they tell him, yo, stop overthinking this. Also, it's okay to not have it all be out there. I do wonder. I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
do appreciate it. I'm actually saying for his own mental sake,
Sure. Yeah.
why would you get burnt like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's uncomfortable to watch, but I think that is part of why I found it to be just really, really compelling, and I'm
But why
curious
would
to
I bring
see.
up a personal issue with you live right now?
I mean, ratings? I don't know, man.
There you go. Right, it's the first thing that comes to mind.
Sure, but
Why?
it's also like especially as a stand-up, like a lot of people are mining their lives for comedy, right? And at a certain point, he's trying to process his experience and his pain through his art, and I guess this is the avenue he's chosen to do that. So I get the artistic impulse to try and document it. Like it makes me
Yeah.
uncomfortable,
But he needs
sure.
the pain, right?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I
That's
mean,
my thing.
the thing is, but that's sort of always been what he likes to dive into the uncomfortable, even when it was that sitcom he did. Like it was talking more political issues, but he seems to be at his most alive when he's pressing buttons.
That may be my other thing. You know I love Carmichael.
Hmm.
How did this man get so many stand-ups, a whole other show, and the reality show before the Emmy? My man's well funded too. I will give
I
him
mean,
that.
yeah, people want to see what he's doing. I don't know.
Good on him, I guess. I am very curious to see where he's going to expand it about. I just feel it's all ending turmoil. More turmoil equals more views, and it feels like what's the word I'm looking for? Serpent eating its own tail type of thing. He's never going to
Right.
get the closure that he wants, but he'll get more gold that'll fill that hole. I guess.
Yeah.
Let's talk the Tyler thing because we can spoil it completely because a whole clip was out of my timeline.
Yeah.
That's
Uh
how you would approach it.
maybe if I was Jerrod Carmichael and I had a reality show, I don't know, man. I
Even
mean,
if I was Drod.
they
You and I would watch a lot of the Flower Boy stuff.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They've had
Yeah,
extended televised conversations before, so it's not that strange to them.
but it was under Tyler. And then Igor, him being the voice in Igor.
Mhm.
And then I'm re-listening to Igor. It sounds like he already told him all this stuff on vinyl. I ain't got love for you.
Mhm.
I'm running out of time. I don't have what you want me to give you.
Mhm.
So to corner him after they said years of not talking to each other, kind
Yeah.
of, they went a little. He wants to,
Being weird, not talking to each other, but it's feeling
yeah,
weird. Yeah.
not having the friendship that they had before. I guess putting that on camera is a choice.
Yeah.
What do you what would you have done differently? Would you have asked a different question? Because I do feel he went, he's like, it's been weird. And Tyler's like, so what do you want from me? He goes, I
Yeah.
don't know. Tyler's like, I already gave you. When you told me, I gave you that. Now you're sitting me here. Why would I give you anything different?
Yeah, well, I think like I can empathize with the awkwardness that someone must be feeling in that situation of being across from a person that you've confessed your love to and not receiving it back, but wanting some kind of closure. Like it's awkward. Like that's a relatable situation for a lot of
'Cause
people. Um I
awkward.
think I think if you had like full, autonomy over your words in that moment, you might want to ask for some more direct feedback. But that's tough. Look, it's tough, and some you know emotions are tough to navigate.
Hey, if I had an HBO budget, I'd think of a couple of other things before sitting the crush that already ignored me in front of me, especially when he hit him with that response. First one was ordering food, which they don't show you when he ordered the
Mhm.
food, but he places an order for room service
Yeah.
and slurps it all. Then
That was
goes,
that was hilarious to me. The amount of extended food eating shots and noises just sitting in that uncomfortable energy. But that's also part of what makes me feel like this is very constructed in some parts that like,
it was yeah.
that I don't think this is him springing something on Tyler, but like them being aware as artists who are within each other's radiuses that like I'm going to try and create something out of this, and maybe it would be funny if we stop and eat room service for a little while.
I think he ordered it because the conversation was awkward. That's how
Sure.
I took that. I think when he not cropped us, when he like the Dutch ovens the cameraman, that
Yeah.
adds a little to the like, oh, this is really off the cuff. What's happening here? But then there's the words he chose about leftovers or whatever else. So you can eat that. I wasn't implying that I wanted it. I think he's a very poetic man, Tyler the Creator.
Hmm.
And I think choosing to say I'm big straight on that is also very indicative of this being a conversation that could have only gone one of two ways, this way or he opens up. So in that, is that not a form of outing your own friend?
Well, he's out, right? Like it's not a
Is he
secret. Yeah, he's out.
fully?
He's out enough. Flower Boy
What
made it pretty clear.
I think this is the most out I think they've
Sure,
had on a
sure.
conversation because again, Flower Boy and Igor are like artistic. It's not something where it's Tyler telling it to you. So I felt a little weird there. I could be off.
Have to
Again,
show
it could be
up.
me.
He didn't have
What's
to
up?
be up. He didn't have to show up. So
He
there's a bunch of
wasn't for a
cameras there.
while.
He's not like he's unaware that it's being filmed.
I think that's why he said what he said at the end. He was, no, I'm big straight on this. I don't want any of that. I'm good. I thought that was very telling. I thought that was very rude. But I think it also puts him in the position of like, you brought me here. This is what I'm gonna serve you with. You
Yeah.
want a little clip in out moment? This is gonna be it. I'm gonna hear Jerrod on this. I'd feel away if I was the muse for Igor that won all of those Grammys, and then I was tossed to the
Is
side.
he the muse though?
You don't think so?
I don't think
I
so.
thought that was
I
like his whole bit.
I didn't take it that way. I don't think.
Well, then you think that he's just a random dude who like liked him?
Wait, who? I'm
Jerrod
getting.
and Jerrod and Tyler work together.
Yeah, on right, but the recency. I don't think the timelines match up.
Oh, I took it as like after 2019, 2020, those were the years that they did not talk to each other and that's what they were making up. The time that they were spending together from 16, Flower Boy 17,
Mm.
18, and then 19 is the release of Igor. Igor's
Mhm.
what he wins all the albums for. If I'm not mistaken, the rule changed as well. So what's his name also got awarded a Grammy for that because anyone who gets I don't know when the rule changed, but anyone who is involved in an album gets it.
Hmm.
Did they stop talking after Igor? Because he's in a lot of tracks for Igor. He's like the therapist who talks over it. Could just be me, but I took it as like that was his, if you don't want to call it a muse, a very big collaborator. And if he's talking about him in a lot of those songs, like you're saying, where he comes out a little bit on his sexuality, okay, I can see why he feels away. Because then at that point, he's not outing Tyler. He's going, nah, you used me for a lot of this music. And now I'm like, not even your friend anymore. That's
Hmm.
where I'm like, okay, I could see the brain going different places and wanting to feel a way about it. Because to him, yes, it would already be out there in that art. And now this is Jerrod's art.
Mhm.
And he's putting you in there. But still got burnt.
Yeah.
I think it's awkward. I think it's all over the place. I want to know more about that relationship because I felt we saw a very big part when we haven't seen a lot of the middle parts. There's not that many ASAP Rocky, Tyler videos with them two out there, where it's just them hanging out, them vibing. I don't know how intimate that was, but it very much seems like it was when the pilot episode of Jerrod, the reality series, is you confronting your old friend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious if he comes back later.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember, I mentioned that I had gone to a taping for the
Mhm.
Jerrod show. And it was one of those stand-up bits. I thought it was interesting how
He
he's
does a lot.
using
Yeah. No, that's cool.
stand-up as the confessional, right?
Yeah. That's
But
awesome.
he in that pilot episode, he talks about how he texted his friend and he turned off his phone and he went on stage. That seems to just be a recurring tactic for him because he did the same for the show I went to, only it was a message he sent to his mom. So look forward to that. That'll be, I'm sure that'll be part of a future episode. I don't know. I'm gonna keep tuning in. I'm compelled by it.
Yeah, it's like reality TV. Big shout out also to another HBO one that came out that I know you were at one of the tapings too for Ramy Youssef, More Feelings.
Yeah.
He had a previous stand-up called Feelings. So this, of course, would aptly be called More Feelings. This was a lot of the jokes that we saw in that like pre-touring thing that he did.
Yeah.
Some made their ways. He had a reading concentrating joke that he did not make. I was hoping it was going to make the final cut, but he had the inklings of the beginning, and then just didn't go there. I know you got to see him again. You got to see him at one of the ones that they were taping as well. You catch up on the HBO?
Not yet.
Oh,
I saw
okay.
him on SNL though.
When you do, I'm curious to see. Oh, that's right. He was on SNL. How was that? Talk about that actually.
I mean, he's solid. I think I just always underestimate his malleability because on the show he plays a character that is so close to himself, and
Mhm.
in his stand up he is being himself, but he has the ability to kind of inhabit different worlds and be a little goofier and play a character, as we've seen from Poor Things more recently. But yeah, I mean, I'm not like a dedicated FNL watcher, but in the bit I've seen from clips, it was one of the funnier weeks we've had.
All right, I'm gonna have to
His
tune in
monologue
for
was
that
great.
one. Definitely check out the HBO one. I know you may have honestly seen the whole set already, but it's Christopher Storer, the guy who
Yeah.
did the bear.
Yeah.
He had also done Feelings. The man knows how to shoot. He gets some shots in there that are fantastic, dude.
Sick.
It's some really good stuff. And the set's obviously good.
Yeah. A lot of the monologue he did on SNL was stuff from the stand up too. So if
I'm
you
getting
like
sick and
that,
tired of that. No, I'm getting so sick and tired of that. What's his name? Gillis did that to him. Like, bro, this is your stand up on Netflix. Stop
yeah,
doing the same jokes. Oh, that gets to me,
yeah,
bro.
yeah. I mean, that's like a thing that comedians often do with like late night appearances and
No,
stuff. But it does feel like
in the
SNL should maybe be
past.
different.
Thank you. Like, first off, I'm of the belief that we're in a new era. I was just saying this. We could
Yeah.
steal jokes back in the day, like they were saying in the 70s and 80s. I don't think we're even in the era of repeating jokes at this point with how the world gets around. That's my opinion. Obviously, people could
Mhm.
disagree. People do what they need to do. I don't know if you saw Tyler, speaking of, is going to be at Lala, and he got flack because he's like, you don't have a new album. And he tweeted, a bunch of people get to perform their other stuff, deleted it.
Mhm. Mm.
So it's definitely something that's up in the air at the moment on like, are you just going to rehash the stuff that you have? Either way, you can believe it this way, that way. You are correct. SNL is, I'm sorry, the benchmark of like, they
Yeah.
deserve new stuff. It's SNL.
Right. Like
That's a
getting
byline
millions to
right
tune
there.
in online and live, and
That's
yeah,
ridiculous for it to be the same thing. That's just me.
yeah.
But hey, still check out Ramy Youssef. If you want to see it again, go check out his SNL monologue. Check out Steve. Check out Spermworld. Check out all that good stuff as we get into the movie news. Just really quick yays or nays here. Just going to keep it simple. Let's talk
Yeah.
about some trailers and biopics. Did you see the Pop-Tart trailer?
I did see the Pop-Tart trailer.
Yay or nay?
I'm gonna go yay. It is a very, very mild yay. But I see a lot of people being like, "Oh, we're getting so many of these stories that are the telling of the companies." Like, this is not try. It does not look like it's trying to be a, you know, a true to the facts retelling of the creation of Pop Tarts. It looks like they're basically trying to Barbie Pop Tarts or whatever it is, where Pop Tarts is just
Yeah.
the like central cohesive element of a wacky comedy. Do I think it's going to be
Yeah.
great? No, I don't. But it does feature a lot of people I think are funny. So I don't know. I'm not all the way out.
I know it was Jerry who was directing.
Yeah.
Good for him. I think we from the Blackberries
Would have been more
airs,
exciting
even
20
the
years ago.
right, yeah, exactly. I also thought it was going to theaters. I guess it's fully Netflix.
Yeah.
So just a yay there.
The
Um,
slightest. Yeah.
yeah, just the slightest. New Yorgos already trailers out. People can't believe people work that fast. How you feeling?
I am all the way in on this one. I am, first of
This
all,
was
it's
a
an
simple
amazing teaser trailer because it's one of those
yeah.
teasers that you just see these little glimpses and you have absolutely no idea what's going on. But I'm just excited, man. I know it's an anthology, which can be hit or miss for some people, but it's also Yorgos reteaming with the guy he wrote Dogtooth with. It's Yorgos's first byline on a script since he did Killing of a Sacred Deer. I think we're getting back to like the sick and twisted Yorgos that we fell in love
Okay.
with before
Okay.
Tommy McNamara and came in and classed up the joint. And I'm
Yeah.
ready for some raw, real Yorgos sickness. Cast is
Right,
amazing
bro.
in this one. It's I think it's gonna be really good.
Where do you think it'll premiere, or does it have a date already?
There's rumors that it'll be at Con, and considering I think the premiere or the release date is in June, I want to say late June. Con would make sense. There's not really like it does not feel like a Tribeca movie to me. I'll tell you that much. I think either it goes Con or it just skips festivals altogether.
Because they already did port things, right? They're like already set.
Right. And
Um,
yeah, I don't think because it's an anthology, it's pretty unlikely that this will be like a major awards contender or anything like that.
then we get to the next one that has two whopping thumbs. If I was a Xenomorph, I think they got a little bit more thumbs. I'd put another one up there. Alien Romulus. What'd you think?
This is your boy Fetty, right?
It's my boy Fetty, bro.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's
Oh,
again, we are just talking a teaser trailer here, so we're not seeing
oh.
much, but it looks pretty sick.
You know, he came in, he did Evil Dead one. Evil Dead.
Evil Dead.
He did the Evil Dead remake. He
Yeah.
went insane with that, right? Like it was so disturbing that it was like nothing to do with the original. It became its own thing. He did
Mhm.
Don't Breathe. I think that one shocked audiences. I've been waiting to see him hop on something else that's going to be this big, and I've been keeping an eye on this movie. I think this is what the Alien franchise needs. It's going to be sick. It's going to be twisted, and I think
Mhm.
Scott's on there, if I'm not mistaken. Like Ridley is on as producer to oversee all the stuff. It's going to be really good, dude. I have all my eggs in the basket for this one. Fetty, don't disappoint. I'm excited.
I'm hopeful for it, definitely.
And then we did have some biopics, which, interestingly enough, some people were bringing up in the chat. The first one was Bruce Springsteen. They are eyeing Jeremy Allen White.
Yeah, I mean,
lead this.
Look, I like Jeremy Allen White a lot as an actor, and I can kind of see a little bit of facial similarity there.
Kinda,
Yeah, like he'd look good in that
He look good
the
in there, yeah.
Springsteen outfits. Well, I don't know. I don't think he's a vocal match at all.
Can you
And
sing?
I, I something about him just doesn't look like he can sing. I don't know.
Mm.
It's also like, is it one of those things? You know, we're getting all these clips for the new Amy Winehouse movie. Like, do you even want him to sing, or do you want to do some lip syncing?
Yeah, look, I think he would be good. I'm imagining him like in the cold with the jacket on, the jeans and everything. I think he can get that look down. I don't know about the singing, and I think that's a big part. But honestly, for Bruce Springsteen, I think it's the dramatic part that's really going to come down to it when it comes for that performance. I'm waiting for that Gene Wilder one. I know it's cliche. I
Yeah.
know it's like saying,
It's a
what's her
better
name, the
fit.
Audrey Hepburn one. Yeah, but hey, he does the Bruce Springsteen one. We know what comes with that. It's just going to elevate his career to the next level because of the resources they're going to have with that one. Bruce is still alive. Obviously, they're going to give it all the effort. It's the Bob Dylan Timmy one that we have not talked on this podcast yet, but more and more pictures get released. Zach, yay or nay so far?
I'm kind of yay on the pictures, at least. Like, I think sometimes this thing happens where we get paparazzi photos of a new costume for a superhero or the wig on Timmy Chalamet, and we're like, I don't really know about that. And then you see it with proper lighting. I think it's a wig. It doesn't look like his hair to me, but maybe it is. I don't know. But then you see it with proper lighting, and it looks a little better. I don't know.
Yeah,
I was surprised that I thought it looked okay. I think his face is not a match for it, but the hair was all right.
He might have the vibe though, like in general, outside of the pictures and stuff. The idea of casting him, that seems right.
Yeah.
I feel like he can embody him. Man, that's it. That's all the news. Nothing else got printed.
Or hey,
that
how about
wraps
this?
it up right there.
What sounds more exciting to you? The Bruce Springsteen biopic with Jeremy Allen White or the Bob Dylan biopic with Timmy Chalamet? How about that?
Bob Dylan, because he could sing.
Because we know Timmy can sing.
Yeah.
Because it's funny because Bob Dylan has the weirder voice.
He does have the weirder voice. That's why it's more exciting to see what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm more interested in Bob Dylan's story. So
freaking same. You got it down. Yeah. But who knows? The Bruce Springsteen one can bring America back together. I don't know. There's something about it.
Born in the USA, right?
There you go. But yeah, that's all the news for this week. All of the movies, all that good stuff. Before we get into the new to see, it's time for the most important part of the show. Zach, give a shout out to all of the Patreons over on our Patreon.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank those wonderful patrons who continue to support the show. They mean so much to us. In the Academy tier, we have Tushar, Cademan, Connor, Josh, May, Ricky, Joe, Tyler, and Benji. And then our producer level patrons are Yuden Veer and Tune. A huge thanks to all of you. And a reminder that you too can be a Intercut patron by heading
Ooh.
over to patreon.com/intercutpod, where for as little as $3 a month, you can sign up for a whole host of patron benefits. You get early access to some of our Intercut episode outlines. You get a look at some of our Intercut brackets before we make the final decisions and stuff like that. We do our monthly patron Google Hangouts where you can chat with us for a bit, talk about what you've seen, what we've seen. But you also get access to some videos you get early, and some videos are exclusive to patrons, including our recent recording of the nominations for the 2024 Intercut Awards. We picked our favorites in every category and went through our nomination process. So if you want to hear a little bit of behind the scenes deliberation on how we make the choices we make for the show, you can head over to patreon.com/intercutpod and sign up for patron benefits. You also can do it for free and be kept in the loop on the latest happenings with the podcast, as well as what movies we're planning to cover on Weekend Must Watch.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that pretty much gives you all of the exclusive stuff for what's going to be on the Intercut Awards. We still got to film that. We still
Yeah.
got to cut that one. And
Yeah.
we still got to get the inner cuties in there as well. But all the behind the scenes, you always get first.
Absolutely.
All right. Coming attractions.
Let's do it.
Monkey Man begins this week, and honestly, it's the I got my tickets like 3 weeks ago. I've been waiting for this movie. I got the
It's
Dolby ready to
It's
go.
Hot Monkey Spring, man. We got Kong in theaters right now, Monkey
Tell
Man
me.
soon,
Tell me.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes a couple weeks
Heck yeah.
away. Let's go.
All monkey business. Yeah, I'm gonna be there day one. Zach and Amanda covered it over from our first reviews out of South by. Zach's number one out of South by. I'm excited for it. I want that Dolby to hit me like crazy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there day one. But are you excited, Zach?
Oh, I am pumped.
I know you got some free gusses afterwards. I ain't talking Monkey Man. I'm talking the haunting that you had to go through where they got your picture taken for the first Omen.
Yeah.
Are you gonna rewatch any of them?
I've actually never sat down and watched the original, so I think maybe I'll make it a double feature, original and
I'm
first
gonna
Omen.
say so. I'm not gonna start with this.
Maybe that's what I should have said. I don't know.
Damn. It's not gonna be good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but
We had Immaculate already, and if that one's skirted being just positive, this is not clearing. It's not clearing at all.
yeah.
It's the first Omen since the last Omen, and it is directed by
Arkasha Stevenson.
oof. Depends what episode she did a brand new cherry flavor, but we'll see. We'll see. At least it's not the worst lineup she could have, but we'll see. This is coming out with Monkey Man. It's the two biggest movies that are going to be released because everything else is pretty much streaming. If I'm not mistaken, excuse me. Is this getting a theatrical before it goes?
Yes, so the greatest hits will
Wow.
be in theaters for 1 week and then on Hulu next week. So if you're trying to
Good for
see
it,
it on
okay.
the big screen, you got a little bit of time to do that.
I would recommend it at home, but if you end up liking the songs in here, you do want to see it in a good mixer for sure.
Yeah, nothing quite like hearing Jamie XX on Dolby surround sound.
Yeah. Zach's not going to rewatch that one because I think he's got another one that he's going to the theater to rewatch. I think it's Parachute.
Yeah, I know
It's a
somebody
higher score than I expected.
I know somebody who worked on this movie who said it was one of the worst scripts they've ever read. So we'll leave that as it is.
I know someone who watched this movie who thought it was one of the worst scripts they've ever seen.
Yeah,
I thought it was awkwardly decent, but obviously not that decent to say.
yeah,
go out to
the
the
directorial
theaters.
debut from
Right
Brittany
at home.
Snow.
That too. Yeah, for those of you who know her from Pitch Perfect, she has a less than perfect movie that's going to be coming out. Girl State is actually opening up what we have over here, the Doc 10 Film Festival. So I actually think it might have already happened. So this is a completely delayed shout out to that festival, but it's a very good festival. It goes through the top 10 documentaries that have premiered around the country, but not in Chicago yet. And this was one of the first ones. I think they have their full lineup up. And most of those
Nice.
are Intercut Festival picks. So definitely keep an eye out for Doc 10 and keep an eye out for Girls State that is coming out now on Apple TV, because I think this week is when it's got the theatrical run. It'll
Yes.
then be out for you to stream. So
Yeah, and Boy State was a lot of people's favorite documentary back in, I want to say, 2020 when that came out.
yes, it
We
was.
love that on the podcast, so definitely look out for Girls State.
Which one do you like more, Girls State or Boy State?
I still think Boy State is a little
Wow.
superior, but we've talked about that on our Sundance
Wow.
videos.
Patriarchy stays winning. Dune Part 2 out on VOD.
PVOD. So you got to spend that ultra premium price to get it. Still
To get
less
the
than you'd pay in a
rights?
movie theater.
I'd go, dude. I trust the source that it came from. If not, I would have thought it was a terrible April Fool's joke. Too quick?
Yeah. I want to say too quick, but we've seen from some of the figures that Universal published that apparently this is a decent strategy. But it
Universal. This
seems
is WB though. Nolan needs
true.
to stay with Universal because they gave him a lot of time.
Yeah. I mean, look, hopefully this is if you're trying to go see Dune in a premium format, the tickets are still
He'll still be
pretty
there.
hard to come by in certain screenings, right? So hopefully they keep it in premium formats for a little while or bring it back, kind of like they did with Oppenheimer, even after that one started being more readily available.
Oppenheimer
But
came
yeah,
out when?
July 17th last year, and it took
And
several
when
months to
exactly.
yeah.
I think it was December when it came out streaming or
Mhm.
PVOD, like you had mentioned, and
Yeah,
it just got put on Peacock. I I don't know. It's a month, dude. We saw this together in March.
I know it's definitely soon. It feels very
Zach, it's
soon.
April 1st.
Well, let's
I
look.
almost told you we're still in March.
It almost feels like March. I mean, if we're looking at the last weekend gross at the box office, Dune was still in third place. It
So
made
what is this?
$11 million over the weekend. This weekend,
What
the
Harkonnen
weekend
is
that ended
releasing this
yesterday.
early? Yeah, why?
I feel like, as a rule of thumb, you probably even shouldn't announce a VOD date until your movie is not top 10 at the box office.
But that's just us. What do we know, right? So Dune Part 2 coming out, and to me that wraps it up. Any of the extra ones that you wanted to give a mention to?
Not really. I mean, I know some people are trying to catch up with The Beast or Housekeeping for Beginners. Some people really liked Loot, which is back for a second season
Nice.
on Apple TV Plus. I don't know if you heard anything about Sugar, but it's a new detective show with Colin Farrell. I was excited
Ooh.
about it, and then it started getting some pretty bad reviews.
No,
But but do you know about Mary and George?
no, tell me.
This is a Stars show, so I understand why you maybe hadn't heard of it, but it's
Anybody know
a
stars?
British historical drama starring Nicholas Galitzine and Julianne Moore. The boy Nicholas just keeps staying booked
Oh,
across
that's what this
iconically.
is.
Yeah.
I saw his late night with whoever was the late night, and he talked about working with Julianne Moore, and she goes, "Yeah, she's on the up and up." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Wait, what is this?"
It's a mini series that is sort of like about an affair between their characters. I think he is like the Duke of Buckingham or something like that. I don't know.
Again?
Some royal
Okay.
stuff, some period piece stuff, some romance and older lady stuff, which we've seen him do in Idea of You.
Wow. So we're gonna get this before the world gets idea of you. This is back to back. Look at him go. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
and he gets to keep the accent, right?
I think so. I mean,
Should be.
he's British and he's royalty, right? So this works out.
I might have to get a free trial of stars. Interesting.
Yeah, and
Okay.
maybe a quick shout out to the South by Southwest documentary that I thought was solid. The Antisocial
Oh,
Network
anti-social.
is going to
Okay. Yeah,
be on Netflix this weekend.
nice. All right, let's get to our top 3 picks. I'm gonna keep mine pretty simple. This was one that I had mentioned several times, even mentioned it in our full out review or intercut award, sorry.
Yeah,
The Settlers. Oh, beautiful poster that they got working with here. This was one that I definitely think was worth watching in theaters for the scope that they have there as you follow these sheep herders who are trying to find kind of like a pathway for their sheep. In reality, they're putting the barrier down for what is going to be Chile and who they need to get rid of and all that stuff. And it happens subtly, and much of it happens in your face as well. I do think the story is going to be worth it for most people at home, even though the scope is definitely theater worthy, but it is playing on a movie. They do a great job broadcasting their stuff. So check that one out if you're interested. And then I got a twofer of comedies. We were getting a comedy special a week on Netflix, and we got some stupid ones, bro. I don't know if you've ever heard anything from Dave Attell.
Oh, plenty.
None of these are family friendly. So you know this man.
Yes. I mean, anybody who grew up with Comedy Central, I think, has a passing familiarity with Dave Attell.
I feel like I know this man. I feel like I've been yelled by this man. The Hot Cross Buns one is funny. He's got joke after joke after joke after joke. He's one of those comedians who's making himself laugh in between the set because he's such a legacy comedian at this point. Like he's well above the routine itself. But it was this other stand-up that came out the week prior by Brian Simpson. This, I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, is 70 minutes. It's over an hour. I think it's an hour 11. It shouldn't be over 11 minutes. But my man's delivery is very much, he lets it breathe, and it almost helps the show.
Cool.
So it goes by faster than it really is. His opening joke is killer. His last joke is killer. And he takes the audiences to very uncomfortable places, but he's really just putting a mirror right in front of them. Check both of these out. They'd be my comedy picks for the week. What do you got, Zach?
All right. Well, we already mentioned Monkey Man, but I just love that movie, and it felt like it was a shot of adrenaline to my South by Southwest experience. So if you are an action junkie, I think you'll be satisfied with Dev Patel's homage to all of the iconic raid movies and Korean revenge movies and John Wick movies that inspired this film. Also will just sort of put Dev Patel in a whole new light for you. Really liked it. But I'm really looking forward to catching up with a couple other things. First of all, Ripley. Don't know how much you've heard about this one, but they are doing a adaptation of the Talented Mr. Ripley novels from Patricia Highsmith for Netflix. And this one stars it's Andrew Scott, who delivered one of the best performances of last year in All of Us Strangers. It's also got Johnny Flynn and Dakota Fanning, who people might be familiar with. But the thing that really drew me to this project, first of all, if you're looking at any of the footage, it looks gorgeous, shot in black and white, just incredible shot composition, which makes sense because the entire series was shot by Oscar-winning cinematographer Roger Elswit. He of There Will Be Blood, Good Night, Good Luck, Punch Drunk Love, Nightcrawler fame. This is a fantastic cinematographer slumming it for Netflix on a TV show, a mini series. It looks gorgeous.
It sounds fire. Really
yeah, it sounds dope.
Hey, Netflix in their HBO bag for this one.
Exactly.
I reached out. They told me no. They said it's too late. I was like, so it was too early, and then it's too late. Got it. It's a very hot commodity. The critics who did get it, did you get it?
I got it. Yeah, man. Just let me know. You can use my account.
Streaming right now. I've heard nothing but great things, dude.
Yeah. I've heard some people say that this is the best looking Netflix series ever made. So I'm looking forward to it. Something that doesn't quite look as good as Ripley does, just visually, but just the cinematography.
You never go back to season 1? My brother went back to season 1. He said, "No, I'm sticking to season 11."
Yeah, like Curb Your Enthusiasm hasn't always been the most visually beautiful show, but the comedy is beautiful, and our boy Larry David stays upsetting people and just pushing all sorts of buttons. The last season has had plenty of hilarious moments, but it is wrapping up April 7th. We got one last week with the boy, and I'm given the direction that the series has gone in, I kind of feel like this last episode is going to be a big fuck you to the people who didn't like the Seinfeld finale.
He's been name dropping the Seinfeld finale just casually throughout this season. Yeah.
And I just kind of love that for him, right? Because the vitriol that Seinfeld finale received is so crazy.
So you're saying he's just going to do the same thing?
Yeah, I think he's just going to double. I gotta love it. It's a troll move, but I love it.
I'm there for it. I was just seeing. I haven't seen last night's, but the boss is on it, so I'm excited. Got two more to go then for me.
Yeah.
Good picks.
All right.
Running it back.
So yeah, got Curb Your
Settlers.
Enthusiasm, the
Oh, go for it.
finale. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we got Curb Your Enthusiasm, the series finale this weekend. Have to tune in for that one.
Very sad.
But I'm also really excited to tune into Ripley on Netflix, which looks incredible with Andrew Scott and shot by Roger Elswit. I'm also hoping that people love Monkey Man as much as I did because that was a shot of adrenaline through the heart.
I've got Settlers. If you're at home with a movie subscription, definitely check that one out. A bunch of other good stuff on Movie too. I've also got some comedy specials from Netflix. David Attell, Hot Cross Buns. I think many people know what that is, and he ends it with it in a very funny way. But then also Brian Simpson, some really funny stuff. I hadn't seen his stand up prior, and had me laughing throughout the entire thing.
Awesome.
So those are our picks for the week. And that's pretty much it for this week's show. As always, you can find more from me over at LME Movies on all social media. Zach, where can people find more from you?
You can find more from me at Zshevich across social media or at Multiplex Show wherever you find videos.
Beautiful. You can find more of the weekend must watch here on Intercut every week, every Monday, technically, where you can listen to every episode of the Intercut podcast, be it on iTunes, be it on Spotify, Anchor, whatever your favorite podcatcher is. And always, please, I don't know if Zach's got one this week, but if you go over to iTunes, you can leave us that beautiful 5-star review. We appreciate that because it really helps us with getting screeners, with getting new links to stuff, access to film festivals. So it's always the best thing to get. Oh, I see. Did we chart a new place?
I
Or
mean,
was this last week's?
we're that's probably last week's list that I have up there. But look, we charted in Nigeria, Greece, Czech Republic, the UAE, Singapore, Poland,
Fair
India,
place.
South Africa, Italy, New Zealand, Netherlands, Ireland, Mexico, Brazil, Germany, Canada, and we were in the top 100 for the United States. We're a big
I
deal
like
at
that
home.
place. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Again, don't forget to leave us a comment, drop a like, follow the socials over on Intercut Pod. For all the Intercuties, a big shout out to y'all. We're going to have our Intercut Awards ready for y'all to see the entire behind the scenes process that you can check out there. You can always head over to Intercuts for any little clips that we may not be cutting out and putting over on the main channel. Go to the website for all of the coverage that we have as well. All that good stuff you guys can find down below in the description. But until next time, keep watching movies, and please give Mini Kong his own movie.
Yeah.
I was calling him Diddy Kong for a long time.
Donkey Kong Jr.
That's what I realized.